want you to fuck me, sexy fish man. Well, god damn, that escalated quickly now, didn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, this is the questionnaire. Check it out. So we've been doing a lot of things over here. We've had a plethora of different questers with us, and it has been a joy. We've had people from Canada, people from the US, people from Serbia, people from all over, you know? And it's been a pleasure. Real quick though, I am the unknown factor, aka that Wade Wilson of hip hop, So again, we are not on hip hop though. We're on that comic tip, and that's what we're gonna do. And I will say, if memory serves, and it may not, this is like episode 70 something or the high 60s. I don't know. If it was 69, I would laugh my ass off a little based on the fact of who our guest is tonight, just based on what she's known for. It's kind of a little raunchy, but I can't say I've been loving all her work that I've seen. So with that, I believe it's our first French guest. I believe it's Gisele Lagace in the house.
Hello.
I should have warned you. I do a real hip hop wrestler-esque intro. You didn't get that warning. Sorry about that, Gisele.
It's okay.
Can't help it. It's just kind of how I do. Man, can I say you have a very long and storied career where you've done so many things, up to including getting, almost getting sued by Pop Tart, which is funny.
Oh, that wasn't me.
Oh, was it? I thought you wait.
Pop-Tart?
No, wait. Yeah, cherry.
Cherry Pop-Tart? Cherry?
Yeah.
No, that was Larry Wells. That's not me.
Oh, so you just did the design?
What do you mean?
I thought that
For
was yeah.
Cherry Pop? I didn't do anything for Cherry Pop-Tart. I'm drawing it in Money Shot, but I never worked on Cherry Pop-Tart. That's Larry Wells. So.
This is why Dave was supposed to join me on this
Okay.
particular quest. He's the my curator of comics, I'll say, over at Comic Book University. He also literally has a piece from you that he had commissioned from you at a convention. I'm going to show that right now. I'm sure you don't remember. God knows how many pieces you've drawn for how many fans. I could only imagine. I assume it's a pretty high number, right? But here's the piece that you drew for Dave right over here for everybody to see out there. I know you can't see it right now. I can't either. It's okay. I do magic and editing.
Okay.
But my bad. Why did I swear in reading up on you, you ever do so much research for something that something bleeds together with something that shouldn't have?
It's possible. It's possible. I mean, the Cherry Pop-Tart is recent stuff that I'm working on, so maybe that's why they're talking about it. So, if you're doing Google search, you'll probably stumble on it. But I never created Cherry Pop-Tart, and yes, that was he started that back in the early '80s, I think. And then it used to be called Cherry Pop-Tart, but then you had to change it to just Cherry because of Kellogg's were going again, after him and everything. So.
That's just a wonderful story. My apologies and my misinterpretation as far as I've been doing a lot of research for a lot of different things over here, and I'll be honest, sometimes things just bleed together. Like that's just bloody well true. But I will say, at least you had a positive 3 wishes. Uh, just $1 million, cure for cancer, and deal with global warming. That'd be pretty nice as far as just get with those 3 wishes. But what I want to know is, at what point did you wish to become the artist that you have? And what made you decide to go down the route that you did, to where most of what you do has a bit of a sexual nature to it? And are you
Well,
have you initially starting in that? Was there ever part of you that was like, ugh, like
well,
trepidatious?
my mother used to work with a bunch of guys that used to have all these Playboy jokes, from the Playboy magazine. So then she would like bring them home. They were like photocopies or whatnot, and I guess she was bringing them for my father. But I thought they were funny too. So I always enjoyed that kind of humor. So maybe that's why it never really bothered me. But I didn't really like seek out to do that more than anything else. I just stumbled into it. Just like it was just natural for me to write that stuff, I think. So and and then the people that I worked with were kind of similar. So I think that's what happened. So, but I never really set out to say, "Hey, I want to do dirty comics." It was more like it just happened, you know.
Well, can I say I'm very much appreciating what you're doing currently with Tim Seeley.
Hmm.
As far as in Money Shot comes again. Um, but have you ever had a situation like that? Because that's the one that strikes me as odd. I've been a fan of Tim's for a while. I mean, I
Hmm.
recently just picked up the volume 1 of the Hack Slash Omnibus because I'm finally trying to recurate some, because I've read a chunk of it. I've honestly never read the very beginning though. So like, I'm gonna get this, and that's where I know Tim Seeley from more than anything. It's the stuff he's done in superheroes, and then the stuff he did in horror. And then I go and I see he's got that coming out. Mind you, I was out of comics for probably like a 5 year period, and that 5 year period included when he initially did Money Shot. You know what I mean? And then I see Money Shot comes again, and I was like, well, that's interesting. Obviously, I've picked up more of that since then and have read more into it. Um, do you find it odd that you're working with someone who had such a specialty in writing what I would call more horror than anything? Like, and it's something we brought up in the show before. Like we with several different a couple different creators, as well as me and Dave have discussed it, who should have been on this episode. He would know a lot more information. Just on point. And I apologize for that. Uh,
Uh,
but he changed the horror genre, and then he goes and he writes something like Money Shot. Is it interesting working with him on that as opposed to someone who more is in that genre?
well, uh, how can I say this? I like horror. I don't do horror, but I do like it. Uh, I don't feel that I'm really a person that's good at it. So my style is, I think it's just too archy like to be horror. I mean, I guess I could do something that's maybe child friendly or something, or it would just be weird to see this kind of style. A little bit like I don't know if you've seen Archie versus Predator, but it was kind of strange to see this kind of style with some horror mixed into it. So I
Wait,
guess if you're trying to do something bizarre, I guess I could do that, but like I don't think I would be a good pick to do something that's just true horror, which you would expect. And then in regards to if I feel it's odd to work with Tim Seeley, well, the main reason that I'm working with him is because he was reading my webcomic or was aware of it at the very least, Ménage à Trois, and I was doing an art book, and then I needed some artists to participate, and I knew that he liked to do the bad girls, the pinups and stuff like that. So I figured he'd be a good choice, and I knew he was following me on Twitter, now X. Anyway, he I said you'd be interested in doing a piece, and then he was really excited to do a piece. So we and then I did something for we traded art. He did something for me, and then I did something for him. And then he says, would you be interested? In working on a project with me, and I said sure. And it was supposed to be something else, but then he said that he needed someone for Money Shot, and asked me to participate on that. And then I said sure. And then when I found out that Cherry Pop Tart was in it, I said, oh, kind of makes sense in a way that he came to me or someone like me, because I had worked for Archie before, and Cherry Pop Tart has a very Archie feel. So I said, I can probably pull it off okay. So, I mean, because I don't want to be working on something where I'm not going to pull it off. Uh, so this I felt I could do. And also the whole dirty aspect, because I was working on Ménage à Trois, or I worked on Ménage à Trois for so long, um, I could pull off. I didn't mind drawing a bit of nudity. So it wasn't a problem for me. So, and I think that's how it happened. Like I mean, I don't know Tim personally, but I've been aware of him for years. He's been doing like I've read some of his stuff, and I guess he was aware of me too because he was really excited to work on to do a piece for the art book. So I guess we knew each other, just we knew each other's work, and that's basically it. But yeah, I I don't know, like I don't think he would come and see me for certain projects, but he maybe for something that he thinks I can pull off. I mean, he's an artist himself, so he can kind of probably see, oh, she can probably do this, and so you know, I mean, I haven't really like like often on my own work, I usually write or co-write the stuff, but with him, I'm just drawing. But I mean, maybe I may shift something where he may have to change the dialogue or whatnot. But all in all, I try to follow what he has down. And if we ever do something else together, where it's maybe I'm more of a co-creator, maybe maybe I'll be more involved on the writing side. I don't know. It really depends on how. I guess we'll see how this goes. I mean, this is the first time we work together, so I'll see.
It's coming together beautifully from what I've read so far. I will say, as far
Okay.
as you and Tim as a combo, it's been a wonderful read. From uh, the fact that there is a sexual nature, but at the same time, it's mocking so many things. You know, it's very well written. It's very very well drawn, and I think the art completely matches the story that Tim is telling, which I think is something that's very very important in the form of comics. Because I think when you have a comic where the art or the story just when they don't match up, it's very off putting to the
Mhm.
story in itself. What do you think the importance is of that, and what do you do going about, especially when you're writing and drawing something, to make sure that the art is matching the story that you're wanting to tell?
Well, when I'm writing myself, because if I'm writing or co-writing, I mean, I know exactly how I'm going to draw it. I can visualize it in my head, so it's actually easier, and I'll know that I'm not going to do this right. This is how I'm going to approach it because I can see it in my head, and also I've been working with Dave, who co-writes David Lumsden, who co-writes with me most of the stuff that we do. He's worked with me for so long that I think he knows what I can do and what I can't do, or you know what I mean. Like, so he probably visualizes, oh, she's going to do it like this, so he can write it. So I think someone who works with someone for so long will, like, I'm sure even with like Tim, for instance, like when he wrote the script for the current arc that we're working on, I wasn't the original artist that was supposed to be on it, and I ended up jumping on. I think the other artist left or whatnot, and I think maybe after seeing how I approached the art for this, like he may now approach script differently based on what he's seen me do with what he had written, and he may say, okay, well, she's going to do it like this, so I think I'll write it like this, and then I'll get the most out of her versus doing something that let's say I'm having a hard time to pull it off. It's not going to look good, so sometimes it's better to take a different approach to make sure that it looks okay. So I mean, because some scenes, I did my best with. Doesn't mean that maybe another artist would have done a better job. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody has their own strength. Like for me, it was always my strength is more about showing emotions and faces, very subtle emotions versus doing the big scene with the big city and a whole bunch of stuff happening. And that's not for me. Or very violent stuff. I'm not really good for that. Like, I mean, I can watch it on TV or whatever, and I enjoy it, but to draw it is a whole different thing. So you're not going to see me do really ugly stuff. Really, like, yeah, I can't do it. It's going to look comical if I do it. It'll look like a joke. So it's better that I don't do it. So.
So ostensibly, what you're saying is you're great for this story from Tim, but you probably should never draw hack slash.
It would depend. I mean, it would depend on the kind of story that he's telling. I could pull off maybe maybe light and fun maybe story. It depends on what he's going for, because
I
I've seen Dan Parent draw something for Hack Slash. So Dan Parent, who draws Archie, he's done it. So I can't remember what it was, but it was a long time ago. So it is possible. I mean, and Dan's a little bit more cartoony than me, and he did it. So I think it's possible. It just depends on the story.
Have you ever come across the script that someone was like approaching you with and you turned it down because it maybe
Mhm.
crossed a line you didn't want to draw?
Uh, well, there was one company that approached me with a script. They went for the nine panel grid. You know, the 9 panel grid, the famous 9 panel grid. I turned that down really. I do not want to work on a 9 panel grid. It's just I'll do it for a 1 page, but if a whole story 9 panel grid, nah. It's I find that it's maybe fun to read on a phone because you could go one panel at a time, but to draw that it's very laborious. You're stuck drawing either just headshots or just really tiny little people, and I hate drawing tiny people. So it's laborious. It's not fun at all. So, but I
I,
mean, some people enjoy that. I just don't.
I can understand why you didn't. I mean, because and I think that's also a style when you're doing a 9 panel that it has to be done in a very certain way to work, regardless of what story you're telling. I mean, I think there's a a couple parts in Watchmen where they do that, if memory serves me properly. And I mean, it obviously.
The whole book is pretty. Watchmen it's 9 panel grid the whole book. I mean, sometimes he'll merge two panels, but the grid is a 9 panel grid. It never changes. He'll
Okay.
he'll, he'll merge two panels, but it's still just two panels of a 9 panel grid put together. But in general, it was always 9 panels. I mean, Tom King does it a lot. I mean, there's some people that enjoy that, and it's fine. I guess it's just when you're working on it. Personally, I think it's just it takes too long. It's. I mean, unless I was getting paid twice as much, maybe I would consider it. But otherwise, and if you have a longer deadline, but if you're doing something with a short deadline, you're only paid a certain amount per page. The 9 panel grid is just like it's torture.
I could definitely believe that, just because, like you said, it would be meticulous, or it's going to either be face shots or far away, and it's not. That I think there's a lot of things that you can do in different formats that you obviously can't with the 9 panel format, because it just doesn't give you the room to expand a lot of things. Like, I can only imagine you trying to draw Money Shot in a 9 panel format. Like, it would not convey in any way, shape, or form the way that it does. It would entirely change the comic. I think even the story of the comic to a certain degree, based on how the art was.
Like for me, if you look at what I do for Menage a Trois, I do the 4 panel grid, which is basically like a 9 panel grid, but it's just 4 panels on a page, and it's always the same 4 panels because it's done as a comic strip. It's like a newspaper comic strip, so you're just 4 panels. And but and I am limited with what I can do with this 4 panel grid, but it's just 4 panels versus 9 panels. So it's like it doesn't take me as long to do, and it's done as the Menage a Trois is done in a way so that there's like a joke at every page, so every update, whatever. And for that, I don't mind being limited to that format. That's not the problem per se. It's more when there's too many. To me, like a 9 panel grid is like 2 page in one. Like I see it as 2 page. It's like working on 2 pages for 1 page. So to me, it's the effort of doing 2 pages on 1 page. So a 20-page book at 9 panel grid is like doing 40 pages. That's how I see it. So you got to plan every panel, and there's just so many. It's just like it's a lot.
I mean, that's entirely a fair assessment, because I mean, that's pretty accurate, because it is, you have to do all the thumbnailing and everything for every particular. So yeah, it would definitely increase the work greatly. But
It is.
you brought up Menage a Trois, so let's get into a little bit in that. I briefly went through that, but I'll be honest, I've been trying to keep up with getting everything out with this show, and it was like a month ago when I initially booked you, and my brain
Mhm.
cannot summon it right now. It's been crazy. So for everyone out there and me, I'll be honest, Giselle, give a little refresher of exactly what that is. And for everybody that enjoys it, no, there's a link right down there in the comments. You can go check it out if you enjoy what she says.